So you downloaded the app Procreate, but now what? Today I'll be teaching you the basics of Procreate, which is available for iOS devices in the App Store. Don't forget to check the description for a link to some fun free goodies that come with this class. When you first open the app, you'll have a gallery here that has a lot of demo artwork that's included with Procreate, so you can open those and explore them a little bit if you wanted to check out those, or you can just delete them. When you want to make a new canvas to make your own artwork, you'll be using this menu up here, and you can hit the plus sign in the upper right hand corner and create your canvas size. It allows you to create in pixels, inches, centimeters, millimeters, but you always want to work in 300 dots per inch, and you can choose your color profiles over here. I use red, green, blue, and this first option here in the list. Do not use display P3, that's what your screen displays, and the colors will be much brighter on your screen than they are when you go to export your artwork or print it. If you need to use CMYK for printers, you can do that as well, but just check with your printer to see which profile they want you to use. You don't always have to convert your artwork to CMYK, but we will talk more about creating this custom canvas in a few minutes. I wanted to show you the top gestures that I use every day in Procreate. The first is undo and redo. I think this is one of the top reasons to work digitally, is that if you make a mistake or you need to change something, it's really easy to undo your work. So you can take 2 fingers and tap on the screen and it will undo the stroke you just did, and 3 fingers will redo. And if you need to undo a whole bunch quickly, you just hold 2 fingers on the screen and it'll rapid undo. Same for 3 fingers, hold and it'll rapid redo. There's also a little button right here that's a back arrow, and you can certainly use that. It's just the gestures help speed up your workflow significantly, so I tend to use those a lot. And of course you can pinch and zoom by just taking 2 fingers on the screen, pinching, zooming, twisting your canvas. If you want it to recenter back to its original position, you just pinch and snap it and it goes right back to perfectly centered on the screen. Another one I use a lot is the copy and paste feature. So you take 3 fingers and swipe down and it pulls up this menu for you, and that makes it really fast. Let's say I want to just look at this layer right here, like if I had all these turned on, and I only want to see this like finished fruit layer, I can just tap this layer in the menu over here and hold with 1 finger, and it will get rid of all my other layers, and now I can only see this top one here. You can do it for any layer, so tap and hold, and now you see just that layer. And if you want to turn these all back on, you just tap and hold again and it puts everything back on. Another nice one is when you need to reduce the opacity, you can just use 2 fingers and tap on this layer and it will open up this opacity slider, so you can just reduce it here. If I want to select this layer, I'll tap and hold 2 fingers, and now just this area here is selected, and you can see these gray diagonal lines on the screen. That's the area that is not activated, and then just this area here that's my painted layer is selected. You can also take 2 fingers and swipe to the right, and that will alpha lock your layer, and so that's also helpful if you need to color in this object and you want to stay inside the lines. So you can select your layers over here by tapping on them, or if you need to select more than one, you just take 1 finger and swipe towards the right, and then that will select a whole bunch of layers. You can group them up by pushing group, and now you have a nice folder with all of these things inside. Or if you wanted to flatten down your work, you just pinch and it flattens it all into 1 layer. So let's say I just drew all these little pieces and I just want to clear it quickly. You can take 3 fingers and scrub it across the screen and it will delete and clear the screen for you, so you don't have to push undo a whole bunch of times. It'll just clear the whole area. Another nice one is if you take 4 fingers and you tap on the screen, it'll give you this nice clean full screen mode without all of those menu items and everything up there. This is kind of nice if you're making videos where you're showing yourself drawing and you just want it to look like nice and clean without all of this stuff on the edges. So that's usually when I use that. Sometimes I find these menus and bars around here a little distracting when I'm drawing, so I'll go in and out of full screen mode so that I can work and feel like I have like more space to draw on, but I don't use it all that often that way. If you need to siphon up color, you can just tap and hold your finger on the screen and it'll pull up the color that you're hovering over top of. And it's pretty handy because then you don't have to go up here into your color palette area and pick the colors. You can just quickly siphon them up. So a lot of times I'll make myself like a little color palette layer so I can just go down and grab the colors with my fingertip rather than having to go up into my menu and pulling the colors. If you go to the Actions menu, which is the wrench, and then Preferences, you can set up gesture controls here and adjust them to your liking. I have it set up pretty much the way that it came, except for I adjusted a few things to customize it, but you can go through here and see what gestures and controls make sense for you and just customize this so that it speeds up your workflow. Now let's briefly talk about these menus up here and just some of the key features that I use a lot there. This is obviously the brush, so you click that and you can choose your brush. Procreate comes with a ton of brushes already included. If you want your eraser to be the same as your brush, you can tap and hold, and I like to do that so that I'm erasing with the same texture and everything as my brush. You can do the same for the smudge tool. And here's your color palettes. You can use it as these little like squares, or you can do the disc to choose from this circle here. It gives you like a whole color wheel, or this a square. Harmony is kind of nice because it'll give you colors that go well together. Also value, if you need to type in your hexadecimal codes, you can put that in here. And if you want to have it on your screen, you just pull down and it'll pop it out. And then now it's on my screen and you can put this anywhere you like. Over here, we have our transform tool. If you hit the arrow, this is where you can resize things. If you turn on snapping and magnetics, it'll help you get things centered on the screen. So let's say it's like over here and you want it to be in the middle, it kind of just snaps into the center there and it'll give you a yellow line when it's snapped perfectly. You can resize using this menu here. Freeform allows you to resize it freely. Uniform will keep it at the same aspect ratio. Distort and warp. And then you can kind of play around with these things down here that are included. You should have this turned on to bilinear. If you make it one of these other options, it'll get really blurry when you resize. And to reset, just hit that button and it goes back to how it originally was. This is your select tool. So I use this a lot actually. We'll use it a little bit today in our illustration as well. And you can use it to draw shapes. So if you have it on freehand, it'll draw the shape. You can do automatic. And so let's say I want to select these leaves. You just push select and then have it on automatic, and then you swipe towards the right and it will select the colors that are in the same group here. So you can swipe left or right to adjust it to select more or less. It'll kind of grab these ones that are the same value. So you do have to be careful. Sometimes it's kind of hard to use because it'll pull into the other areas if the colors are too close. You can also draw shapes, rectangles, ellipses with the select tool. The adjustments menu is here, and this is where you can grab things like changing the hue, saturation, and brightness. So let's say I drew this and I just want it to be a little bit more saturated. I can hop in here and just adjust it here in this menu and adjust the whole layer at once. There's also other fun things like curves, color balance, gradient maps, and you could play around with the things in here like the Gaussian blur, or these liquify tools are kind of fun. So you could play around with this and just see what all it does. Here in the share menu, you can export your files. So you can choose from JPEG, PNG, Procreate files, Photoshop files if you want to send it over to do more work on it in Photoshop. You can also do time-lapse replays. It actually records your whole process as you're drawing. So at the end, you could export your time-lapse video and have like a fun little process video to share. In your preferences, you could set this up the way that you like. I won't really go through too much of this. The only thing is that I turned on this brush cursor, and that's really helpful for me. So you might want to do that. And then you can see the edges of where your brush is going to go. And of course, there's a help menu. So anytime you're stuck, there's something here that you can't remember what I covered, or it didn't make sense, or it's confusing, go to the Procreate handbook. If you click here, it takes you to their website, and it's really thorough. It's searchable, so you can always type in what you're looking for and it'll give you a nice answer with screenshots and everything. When you're done with your artwork, you can put it into a folder by stacking it up. So I have a folder here for our class and I want to put this inside. I can either grab it and just drag it over top and just drop it in here, and there it is. Or if I want to take it back out, like, whoops, I didn't want to put it in there, you just drag it back out to your gallery. You can also push select and select the items that you want to put into a folder and just push stack. I like to make these little gallery cover things so that I can keep track of what's in my folders, and that's kept my gallery pretty organized and easy to find things. Okay, so that's a lot of talking about all the features, but I learn best when I actually use the program and draw in it. So I want to make an illustration with you guys because I feel like it's a more hands-on way to have these tools and gestures and everything really solidified in your brain rather than just watching me do it. So let's make a new canvas. I'm going to hit the plus sign over here and the plus for new canvas, and I want to make it 8 by 10. We're working in 300 dots per inch, so I could type in 8 by 10 here, and then my canvas will be saved over here. So there's my canvas. I forgot to title it when I was typing all of that in. So what you could do is swipe left, edit it, and then give it a name so you can always find this again and you don't have to be digging for it each time or creating a new canvas each time. It makes it so much better if you can use dimensions that you've already set up for yourself and not have to have like a whole bunch of like random untitled canvases over here. So I keep all of mine organized, and there's actually the one I made previously right here. So I don't really want a duplicate. I'm just going to delete it back out, and that's how you can keep your canvas menu really clean. I included some free brushes for you guys if you would like to use them. It's in the PDF document that is included with this class. There's a link to them. So just navigate to where you downloaded the brushes on your iPad and then just tap it and it'll automatically import the whole folder for you. It'll go all the way to the top here in your brush library. And if you want to move it around, you just grab it and you just drag it down to wherever you want it. So you can adjust your brush size over here and you can create set points. So it's really easy to always get the same size brush. You just choose your size and then tap on this menu over here and hit this plus sign, and then it'll save that for you. So now you just tap on that level there and it's always going to give you the same size brush. I don't want that one, so I'm just going to delete it back out by hitting this minus. So let's just sketch like the lemon, orange, and the strawberry here. I'm going to reduce the opacity of my brush a little bit over here in this menu, and you can do the same thing if you wanted to set specific points so it's easy for you to always get the same levels, but I don't really need to do that, so I'm just going to leave it as is. I want to draw my orange, so I'm going to draw the best circle that I can. You saw it was like totally wonky, but that's okay. You just hold your pen down on the screen and it'll smooth it out for you, but it's still not a perfect circle. So if you want it to be a perfect shape, you just hold your pen and then put a finger on the screen and now it's a perfect circle. I'll hit my arrow tool here just to position it a little bit better on the screen where I want it. And I don't want snapping on right now, so I'll just go down here to this settings and just turn that back off by hitting this toggle switch. And now I can move it pretty freely. So that'll be my orange. I want to make a new layer and then do the lemon. And I want to make it a little bigger, so I'll just tap my arrow tool, grab onto one of these nodes, make sure uniform is turned on, and then just stretch it a little bit here so that it's the size that I want. And I want them to be overlapping, so just get it into position there. That looks pretty good. And then make a new layer, and that'll be for my strawberry. I want my eraser to be the same as my brush, so I'll just hold on my eraser and it's going to make it the same as the brush, and maybe just make it a little smaller with my arrow tool. And I want to get all of these kind of centered up on the screen, so I'll go to my layer 1 and tap it, and then go here to layer 2 and swipe towards the right. And that's selecting that as well, and the same for layer 3. Now I have all 3 of them selected and I can move them as one unit. I want them to be centered, so I'll go down here to snapping and magnetics and turn that on so it will show me when it's exactly centered on my canvas. Sometimes you need to zoom in and out, and when you have this on, it's hard because you can't pinch and zoom. It's actually changing the size of my fruit. It's not zooming in and out of my screen. So if that happens to you, you can hold on this arrow up here and now you can zoom in and out, and it's not changing the size of my fruit there. It's actually zooming in and out of the screen, so you can get it adjusted so where you can see everything a little bit better and not worry about changing the size of your items. Okay, so let's get this centered. There we go. Once you like it, just hit the arrow to deselect everything. And then for my background, I wanted to have this like sunburst kind of thing. And a really easy way to do that is use a symmetry tool on Procreate. So I'm going to make another layer. I want to move it all the way to the bottom, so I'll just hold on it and pull it down here until it's where I want it. Go up here to the Actions menu, hit Canvas, and then Drawing Guide and toggle that on. And now I want to edit my drawing guide. It defaults to this grid. I don't want this to degrid. I want it to be rotational symmetry. So I'll push Edit Drawing Guide, and now I'm in here. You can make your lines darker or lighter down here and adjust all of these things so that it's helpful for you and not distracting. So you can kind of play around with those if you need to. And also you can adjust the color up here. I usually just leave it at gray. So now I want to go over here and push Symmetry, and down here Options, and I want radial symmetry because I want it to repeat like in a circular pattern, and then turn on rotational symmetry as well. And assisted drawing just means it's going to actually help you and do the symmetry. If you have that clicked off, it's not going to do it. It's just going to give you this guide. So I want that to be clicked on, and then I'll hit done. And now when I draw here, it's going to repeat all over the screen. So you can see that's really fast. I don't want it that dark. It's totally distracting. So I'm just going to tap on it with 2 fingers and then slide to the left and turn down the opacity a little bit there until it's just real light. And so I can kind of get an idea of how my design is going to look, and then tap on the magic wand again to deselect it. And my guide is still there. Just be careful if you have this turned on. If you need to draw in one area and you don't want it repeating all over the place, just tap on this to get this menu and turn Drawing Assist back off. And now you can draw in things like, I don't know, let's say we wanted like sparkles, and you're able to just draw freely and it's not repeating all over your canvas. You can also turn off this guide once you're done with it so it's not distracting by going back to the Actions menu, clicking Drawing Guide back off, and now we have a nice clean canvas again. Okay, so now let's color this in a little bit. I want all of my fruit to be in one layer because this is just kind of like a sketch layer as a guide, and I want to reduce the opacity a little bit too. You can tap on this N and then just slide it down here, or 2-finger tap and then slide it down on the screen, whatever's easier for you. So that looks pretty good, but this stuff in the background is a little distracting, so I'll just erase that out. So you could do it this old-fashioned way with the eraser tool, or you can grab your lasso, so the select tool, push freehand, and just select this stuff, and you'll see these like this dotted line, the marching ants or whatever it's called, and that will show you where your selection is. Now it's really white. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but it's really white, and then the back here it's like diagonal gray lines, so you can see exactly what's been selected. And once I am happy with my selection, I can swipe 3 fingers down and get this copy and paste menu and hit cut. So that cut out all of this like starburst stuff from behind my fruit. Now that looks pretty good. I'm just going to flatten down the whole thing. Pinch those 2 together, and now you have this sketch layer to work with. I like to set my sketch layers to multiply, so you can hit that little N there and then choose these blend modes. I like to make this pretty low, so usually I would have the opacity pretty far down, but it's hard to see on the video, so I'm going to leave it up a little bit more than I usually do, but I probably would have this down to like 15 or so, but today I'll just leave it a little bit higher so you guys can see what I'm doing. All right, so now we want to color. A really fast way to color is using the select tool. So I want to make that new layer to color in, and you can label it. You just tap here, and let's just rename it just to keep track of everything here. I'm going to call it color, and I'll tap on this one, push rename, and call this one sketch. In my color layer, I'm going to use the lasso tool again. This time I'll have color fill turned on. You can see right now it's going to fill it with black, and I don't want that. So I'll tap up here and just grab like a pretty yellow color. Now I'm going to just loosely draw this lemon, and this is like kind of like a wonky style. If you want it to be more perfect, then I would suggest using that inking brush or one of the paint brushes that's included, but I'm going to use the select tool because I want it to look kind of like funky and a little bit, you know, it doesn't have to be like perfect, like wonky lines and stuff. When I close my shape here, can you see this dot here? When you tap there to close, it'll automatically color fill it. So just go there, and then it fills it with yellow. Deselect by hitting that select tool again, and now my lemon is done, and I can add texture and whatever, which we'll do in a minute, but I'm going to show you one more way that you can draw these shapes. So let's say you don't want it to be solid yellow like that, you want it to have like a fun texture in it. I'm going to grab this Layer Up Buttercup brush. This is a really nice textured brush for things like this. So I want to set my paint to orange. I'm going to make a new layer above the lemon and grab this select tool again. This time turn off color fill, and you can use this ellipse tool. That will help you draw a perfect circle, or you can use freehand. I'm just going to go with the ellipse. So I'm going to pull it down until it's, let's see, about the size. Now, if you make an oval and you want it to be a circle, you just do the same thing as what I showed you with your Apple Pen when you draw the shape the best you can and then hold and put a finger on the screen. You can do the same thing with the select. So I'm going to draw an ellipse and then just tap a finger on the screen and hold, and now it's a nice circle. So I'm going to make it about the size of my orange. See, something like that looks pretty good. And I'm going to color it in, and then we'll slide it up into place. So right now you can see this circle is selected, and then the area that's not is grayed out. I'll grab my Layer Up Buttercup brush. I'm going to put it up the whole way and then make this really little so I don't have to scribble as much over the area. And then just kind of go back and forth, and it gives this nice inky texture. It also layers nicely, which is why it's called that. And you can make it have like a little bit of like darker areas and just really like funky texture. So I really love this brush. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. And then I'll just deselect it. And now it's not in the right place, but that's okay because it's on its own layer. So I'll hit this arrow and I'm just going to scooch it up into the place where I want it to go. You can always tap on the screen to move like 1 pixel at a time if you need to be more precise. And I want that to be behind my lemon, I think. Okay. Last one is the strawberry. So let's make a new layer. I'm going to make my strawberry pink. And let's say for this one, you wanted it to have like a scratchy border. Like you don't want it to have a nice clean edge like this. You want it to be all textured throughout. Well, we can just use our Layer Up Buttercup brush, or even the inker brush would be a nice edge. It'll be kind of like jaggedy, especially if you turn it up a little more. That could give you a nice edge. Let's do that one. And now I want to fill it with color. I can grab that little paint dot, drag it over and drop it in. But look at this. It has like this weird white edge. It means your threshold is too low. So what you want to do in that case is undo. So tap 2 fingers on the screen and then drag it over. It's going to do it again, but don't worry, don't lift your pencil. Just keep your pencil on the screen and slide it towards the right, and it will fill in all those white gaps. You could slide it until it spills out and then go back to the left. And now there's no weird white edge in that shape. So if you're having a problem with that, it might be your threshold. You can also fill things by using the color fill method. I'll show you that for the topper. So let's grab green, new layer, and then draw the shape. Let's say I have like lots of shapes I need to fill. So I'll do this topper, and then let's do like some of these little seeds. I'm going to draw them really big so I can show you how the color job works. Just draw yours as little dots like that. So let's say I have a bunch of shapes I need to fill in quickly. I can pull this and drop it in. Make sure that the threshold's good, and then see this continue filling option up there. Hit that, and now everywhere you tap, it's just going to fill it in. You don't have to keep dragging the paint over. So that's a great way to fill a lot of objects really quickly. And when you're done, just hit the check mark. So these look crazy. They're really big. Let's say I want to erase them, but I don't want to work destructively. Like I might want to bring those back. I don't know yet. Then you can mask it. So tap on that layer and you can hit mask right here, and it will automatically change to black up here. Black erases and white restores. So I could just actually draw these back in really little. This is great for when you aren't sure if you want to erase something, or you might have to go back and change it later, because you can see my layer is still there. It's not erased, it's just masked off. So I'll go ahead and mask these ones. I want to change back to black. So I'll hold on my paint up there and it'll change to the last color that I was using. I want to change back to white, so I'll hold and it's going to change back to white. and I'll just draw these back in. And if you like how it's masked and you're fine with it, you want to merge everything down, you just pinch it together and now you've erased your original layer. So that is a destructive method. If you want to possibly go back later, don't pinch them down, leave a mask over top of your layer. So now let's add a little texture to this lemon. I'm going to create a layer directly above it, tap on it, press clipping mask. And now anything I draw is going to stay just over top of the lemon. It won't affect the orange or anything underneath. I want to grab a darker yellow, so I'll hit that yellow again and then just go down to my square where I can choose my colors and just choose like a little bit of a darker shade. And then I want to use this one called Dust Bunnies. So now I'm just going to swipe over it and these little dots are going to fill my lemon, but they're not going to go over my orange. They're just staying within the area that I clipped down to directly underneath. If I want to make more, I can make a layer in between here and sandwich them. So let's say I want to make some white dots. I can go to my lemon, click new layer, and you can see it's also clipped down now. So let's say I want to make some highlights. I'm just going to grab white and then just do these dots over top, and it's only going into my lemon. You can also play around with the blend modes. So on this one that was yellow, you could choose color burn or linear burn and just kind of play around with these and see how they affect the layer directly underneath. It's a fun way to get some extra texture in there and just some fun effects. I usually do color burn or linear burn, and then you can adjust the opacity as well. Once you like it, you can flatten it down or you can leave your clipping masks, but either way, I always label my layers or at least group them up into folders so I can see what's going on and I can find my stuff really easily. So I can group this up into a folder and call it lemon. If you like it and you want to save it, you can just tap on that and push flatten. You can see it loses the name when you flatten a folder though, so you'll have to rename it. For the strawberry topper, let's add a little texture to that one. So I want to use this brush called Texture Pen Shading, and this one is nice because you can just use the same exact color and draw right over top, but I don't want it to spill out. I don't want it to go over here onto my lemon. So what I'll do is alpha lock this layer. You can either tap on it and press alpha lock, or swipe to the right with 2 fingers and you can see this checkerboard behind your layer. It means it's alpha locked. So now I can go ahead and draw in there and it's only going to go on that little green topper leafy stem thing. This one called Texture Pen Highlight is nice because you can keep the same color and then just swipe over it and it'll add your highlights. So I hope those are helpful for you and those are fun to add some textures to your art. There's also one in here that's just a regular texture pen, so then you can choose your own color. Let's say I want to do light pink and put it over top of the strawberry. So make a new layer, clipping mask, and then just go right here on this side of the strawberry. And then you can kind of choose your own colors. I always like to add some bright blue in here too, just to make it fun. And then you can adjust your opacity to make it just enough texture without being overwhelming. And if you like it, flatten it down. So I have this little spot here. I want to actually make this darker, but when I drop in the darker brown, it spills out all over my orange and it actually just changed the color of my orange. So if that happens to you, this is a threshold problem again. So you're just going to swipe to the left until this goes back to the color that it was. If you can't swipe far enough and you run out of space, go back, do it again, and then swipe to the left. And you can see now my orange is its nice color again, but this is darker. So now we have a layer that's my sketch, and then got my strawberry, lemon, and my orange. I wanted these to be kind of overlapping and transparent. So I want to tap on this end and then take the opacity down a little bit, not a whole ton, but just enough so I can kind of see some of the other fruit through it. And I'll do that to each one. And sometimes it's helpful to turn off your sketch layers so you can see a little better what you're doing. The last thing we'll do is add that starburst thing in the background. So I want to make a new layer, but I'm going to pull it all the way down to the bottom and then add in that fun pattern. So I want to grab a pink color and grab my inker brush and then go over here to the actions menu, go to canvas, and then drawing guide, click that on. If it's not already this radius, you need to go to edit drawing guide, hit symmetry, and then options, radial symmetry, rotational symmetry, and assisted drawing needs to be clicked on. Hit done, and then you can draw one line. The thing is to keep an eye on when it's a rectangle and not a square canvas, some of your stuff's going to fall off the edge. So you can see I can draw a grade up here, but then that is coming off the edge here. So what you might need to do is go from the shortest side and draw from there. And that way nothing's falling off the edges. So something like that's kind of fun. If your line is wiggly, you need it to be straight, just draw your wiggly line and then hold, and you can adjust your line to make it shorter or longer as well. So if it's spilling off your canvas, like right there, just bring it back in a little bit. The eraser also repeats across in the symmetry, so I want to fix this one, and it'll fix all of them. Okay, and at the very top we can add our little sparkles. I'm going to grab bright blue and my inker brush, and then just draw in these fun little sparkles. So I'll turn off my sketch layer and then turn off my drawing guide. This is what I have, and I can't resist. I have to add smiley faces on top of these. So let's make a new layer and then just make some like little happy fruits. I didn't really want my starburst shape to be showing, but it is because my fruit are transparent. So what I'm going to do is tap on the lemon and hit select, and then go back down to my starburst thing. I don't want to erase it in assisted drawing because it's going to erase all over the place. So I'm going to tap on that, turn off drawing assist, and then swipe 3 fingers down, press cut, and it just cut out the area that is the same shape as my lemon. So I'll do the same thing for the other fruit. So I want my strawberry, so I can press and hold 2 fingers on the strawberry to select just the strawberry, or tap on it to get this side menu and hit select, and then go down to my starburst, make sure drawing assist is turned off, swipe 3 fingers down and cut, and one more time for my orange. So I'll tap and hold 2 fingers, go down to the starburst, swipe 3 fingers down and press cut, and now it looks nice and clean behind it. Well, besides this area here because it's not colored in. So I'll just use my lasso tool to clean that up a little. So that is looking pretty cute to me. If you want some free brushes, I have all kinds of Procreate brushes and tools, so you can add a lot to your collection for free. I hope that this class was helpful for you and it helped you to learn the just beginning basics of Procreate. And the best thing to do is just to practice. So just dive in and just start playing around with all the features and digging through the menus and seeing what everything does. If you post your work on Instagram, you can tag me at MyMcDoodles so I can see what you came up with. Thanks so much for drawing with me today. See you in my next class.